Hello there, welcome to my review of the Casebook of Sherlock Holmes, Series 1, Episode 6, The Creeping Man. The episode begins with some men removing a gorilla from its cage, before we get a POV shot of a country house. A woman is sleeping while a guard dog is agitated. The woman wakes up and screams at the shadow of an ape-like figure outside her window. Rather than make our way to Baker Street as expected, we find ourselves in the office of a biologist, Professor Presbury, and his secretary. Before the biologist's daughter, Edith, comes in, the woman we saw the night before, and tells her story to them both, which her father dismisses as a dream. We also find out that she is engaged to the secretary, Jack. She insists to Jack that her story is true, and if she is to go through with a marriage, he is to engage Sherlock Holmes to discover what is going on. We then go to Sherlock alone in Baker Street as he pens a note to Watson.
Watson, come at once if convenient. If inconvenient, come all the same.
This famous call to action crops up in many of the Holmes adaptations and is a brilliant piece of writing that sums up their relationship. The prologue itself seems to tell us all we need to know, and it's logical to assume the gorilla we saw escaped, and that's what Edith saw. But that's an easy mystery to solve, for us at least, so maybe there's more going on and the gorilla is a red herring. Watson arrives, and it is inconvenient, but Holmes is too concerned with the case to worry about this. Jack arrives and wants to call Holmes off, but Holmes will have none of it, and demands to know all. Presbury is now engaged to Alice Morphy, a woman a third his age, which neither Jack nor Edith are thrilled with. After he's gone, Watson tells Holmes that the case is beneath Holmes, but agrees to join him anyway. They examine Edith's room while Presbury is away, but he returns prematurely and is angered at their presence.
You may leave at once, the pair of you.
Father, they are here at our request.
But not mine, Edith.
For the first time, we get a hint of the social standing of Holmes, as Presbury, a renowned intellectual, finds detective work to be very low class.
221B. Hardly an address to inspire confidence.
I've never sought to inspire confidence in others. I have quite enough of my own.
As they leave, they meet the guard dog, and Holmes finds its reaction very interesting, as it appears to be just as suspicious of Presbury as it is of Holmes. After some further digging, by sharing a drink with Presbury's coachman, Holmes discovers the dog has attacked Presbury several times in the past few months, and is now regularly tied up. He sees Jack again and warns him that Edith is in danger, but from whom or what he cannot be sure. Undeterred by Presbury's warning, Holmes returns to his house and snoops around his office. Here we see Holmes's view of the intellectual snobbery of Presbury, as he seems to delight in treading over Presbury's wishes.
Mr. Holmes, you mustn't touch his desk.
Get it! Thank you.
Holmes is entertainingly surly in this episode, seemingly annoyed by everyone involved, including Watson, presumably because he knows Presbury is keeping something from him and he hates people who aren't forthcoming with him. He sends Watson to Dorrock's general store, while he sits in on one of Presbury's lectures about monkeys. Meanwhile, Watson is accosted by a thug when he tries to gain entry to the shop, and back at Baker Street, Holmes receives a visit from Lestrade, who has been sent by Presbury claiming harassment. Obviously, this makes Holmes more determined than ever. He recognises the thug's companion from Watson's description, and Watson noted a strange smell at the shop, like a zoo. It certainly seems like all the clues point towards Pressbury getting the two men to acquire primates for his experiments, and at least one of them has got loose. This is seemingly confirmed when Jack sees a figure moving about Pressbury's house.
I fancied I heard an intruder, sir.
You did? Yes, Roy too was exercised, but when I looked out just now, there was nothing, and he's since quietened down. Listen.
Holmes certainly appears to come to this conclusion when he sees a news story about thefts of monkeys from London Zoo. At the zoo, Lestrade mentions other thefts around the country, but says there is no evidence as to who is doing it, at which point Holmes is able to give him a description and the names of the two men responsible.
My men have been through it with a tooth comb.
The lock was released by Swell Jenkins of Stepney Green. The primate was quietened with a pad of chloroform. You could do worse than have a word with Harry the Tash Wilcox of Soho.
Good Lord, Holmes. Your nothing much would be anyone else's a great deal.
Because of his increasingly odd behaviour, Alice breaks her engagement with Pressbury, while Holmes and Watson break into the general store and are attacked by the thug and his companion, but quickly subdue them both, discovering that Dorak's collection of stolen animals is all part of his vivisection room.
You count yourself fortunate that the process has been kept from you. Now, gentlemen, in you go.
In there with him? Why?
To await the police. In, gentlemen.
At Baker Street, Jack and Edith arrive to inform them of the broken engagement, and Holmes pieces together exactly what has happened, insisting they get to Pressbury's immediately. There they discover Pressbury has taken a drug, which he has been taking every few days, derived from primate glands. And as they leave the house to look for him, they find him swinging from the trees. He leaps down and heads for Alice's home, pursued by Watson and Holmes, as well as the guard dog who has gotten free. As Pressbury breaks into Alice's room, the dog comes in and attacks Pressbury, leaving him wounded but alive. What can I say about this episode? Well, let's get the bad out of the way. I hate this episode. I hate the original story it's based on, and I think Doyle's editor should have been fired for letting this be published. It's not just the cod science fiction element being out of place in a relatively grounded Holmes canon, which I really don't like, but perhaps could accept if the story itself, and perhaps how it's portrayed, wasn't so ridiculous. It feels like Doyle had a rather predictable story about someone stealing primates for research, but couldn't find a way to make it unpredictable, so came up with a completely mad twist. It just doesn't fit Sherlock Holmes, but more than that, it's not a good twist on its own merits. It's such a shame too, because it would have been so easy to tell the story better by just downplaying the monkey elements. You could tell exactly the same story, but instead of Pressbury behaving like a monkey, just have him be more energetic and athletic, and have the story play out all the same, apart from the swinging from the trees. It's not all bad though. Apart from the monkey business, it's a good mystery about someone's out-of-character behaviour and an illicit animal experimentation ring. The performances are of their usual high standard, and it's nice to see Holmes at his petulant best. Although perhaps Brett was channeling his own dissatisfaction about adapting this particular story. Sadly, I have to give this story a 1 out of 5. The good things about it are just not good enough to save it from the truly awful things. Thank you. Goodbye.